Hi there, and welcome to Political Science 540 XAZA Nonprofit Management for summer 2014. I'm the Professor Michael Smith, and I do not generally videotape myself giving lectures, but every time I teach an online class, I like to do a video just on the very first day, just to say hi, and in fact, I'd like you to do a video as well. And so in a few minutes I'm going to talk about that. The one downside of online teaching is that it can be so impersonal. You don't know me, you don't see me, you don't hear my voice, nor I get to see you or hear from you. We communicate online. And I like that personal touch. When I teach classes on campus, I often have a lot of class discussion. It's not just me lecturing. And I want that personal touch. It just makes a difference, I think, if we can talk with each other, see each other, and so forth. I don't think that's practical for every day, but I like to do a welcome video on the first day of class and give you the opportunity to do one too, or an audio recording or an essay. Like I say, I'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. Let's talk about the class. This is really exciting for us because this is the first time that nonprofit management has been offered in the political science department here at Emporia State. I did teach this previously at Kansas State, and I enjoyed doing that. We haven't been teaching that here, but we did a review of our department. Two outside reviewers came from Truman State and Washburn and gave us feedback about our program, what they thought we did well, what they thought we could improve, and one of the things they said is, you're missing a bet in not teaching nonprofit management, because when it comes to people interested in what political science students study, nonprofit management is one of the hottest fields. And that really takes us into one of the topics that this course is about, and that is contracting. As we'll learn, particularly when we start the Smith and Lipsky book here, the first of the books we'll be reading, today a lot of government services are not administered directly by government. They're not necessarily administered by government employees. Now, many still are, like teachers at public schools and so forth, but there are a lot of other government services that are handled differently. Since the 1980s and continuing through today, the new thing with a lot of government services is contracting with nonprofits or not-for-profits. The idea is that perhaps nonprofits can offer these services more efficiently than if government does it directly, and it allows for government to cut its workforce, cut its number of employees, and push out the work through these contracts. It will pay not-for-profits to administer the services, and it might even bring some competition into it by having more than one not-for-profit compete to get these contracts. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, like with anything complex, the answer to that is yes. It's good in that it allows more flexibility sometimes than just having government rules and government employees do everything. It's a bad thing because it can often mean squeezing on costs. Government tries to push these not-for-profits to do more with less, which sounds good and can encourage efficiency, and we'll talk about some of that when we get to the Bowman and Deal book about management. But it can also lead to the workers for these not-for-profits being pushed very hard, working long hours for low pay, getting their morale worn out, and then quitting and looking for other jobs, maybe in the for-profit sector or for actual government jobs or what have you, where they can make some money. So it's kind of a mixed deal, and a lot of it comes down with how well it's done. When these contracts are let out, how competitive is the process, how thoroughly do the government employees who are responsible for overseeing the contract look at the qualifications of the not-for-profits? Do they just take the cheapest one, or do they look at how well qualified they are to do high-quality service delivery? What kind of metrics do they use to hold the not-for-profits accountable and see how good of a job they're doing? And then there's the not-for-profit side. They have a lot of decisions to make too. For example, there may be a lot of opportunities for them to grow by taking these government contracts, but those government contracts may push them off their traditional mission, because what the government is looking for someone to do and what that organization traditionally does are different. At the worst, And these contracts can water down that sense of mission so badly that the not-for-profit is just no longer as effective as it was before it got the government contract. At the best, the good not-for-profit, the well-managed not-for-profit, can separate the work it does on that government contract, make sure they fulfill the terms of the government contract, but at the same time, they can keep the work they traditionally do, they can keep the integrity of that, and not just become totally co-opted by the government agency that is giving them this work to do under contract. We're going to talk about all this. And most of that, again, relates to that Smith and Lipsky book. That's this one, Nonprofits for Hire. Then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about effective management of a nonprofit. After all, the class is called Nonprofit Management. So if you were to do that, if you were to manage a nonprofit, maybe someday you will. Maybe somebody in the class is doing that right now. Maybe you have it in your future. Well, what would it take to do that well? The Bowman and Deal book, the Four Frames book, is all about that. It's all about what managers need to think about in order to manage effectively. You've got to manage money, you've got to manage people, and one of the key points made in that book throughout every chapter, and it has quite a few of them, is that you've got to look at things from different perspectives. One of the mistakes that both government agencies and not-for-profits make is they get stuck into just one perspective, and then along comes something new and it just blindsides them. So that ability to both adjust to change and look at things from different perspectives is critical. And I think the Bowman and Deal book, which by the way was recommended to me by an in-law of mine who is the CEO of Kansas Big Brothers and Big Sisters, he said, if you're teaching nonprofit management, this is the book. You have to teach this book. And who am I to second guess him? Because he does manage a non-for-profit. He says this is the book. So it comes highly recommended. I'd like to get my cousin-in-law to guest speak to the course by recording a video sometime this semester as well. So I'll update you on that later. But this book will give rise to all kinds of exercises that we can do as homework assignments, and don't panic. The homework assignment won't just be write an essay, write an essay, write an essay, write an essay. The homework assignments in some cases will be a quick 3-question multiple choice quiz. I like to do that with most book chapters. Excuse me, itchy nose. I like to do that with most book chapters. Just, if you read it, you'll know the answers. And those will be up on Canvas. And then the other homework assignments will be all sorts of things, not just write an essay, write an essay. Maybe you'll write a few essays, but I'm also going to mix it up a little bit with what are called graphic organizer assignments. And these are things like flow charts or Venn diagrams, which are the ones that have the overlapping circles. Maybe making a graph of data using a spreadsheet or other program. Excuse me again. These will give us different ways of presenting the data. They'll make the class, I think, more fun. I think it might be more fun for you, and also by organizing what you're learning in different ways, I think you can use different parts of your brain and challenge yourself a little bit more in such a way that when you graduate from college one of these days and get a job or get a promotion if you're already working, you'll learn skills that are really useful, because let's face it, out there in the world of management, for example, nonprofit management, there aren't a whole lot of times when your supervisor or the government agency that you contract with is going to ask you to write a term paper. But they will ask you for memos and executive summaries and charts and graphs of data and things like that all the time, and you want to be able to do those quickly and do them well. So I'm going to give you practice in the form of the homework assignments for this class. So some days we'll be doing assignments like that. Other days it will be the 3-question multiple choice, to just kind of checking up on you that you read and understood the chapter of the book. And that will all be announced ahead of time for that day's homework. I'll let you know what we're doing. The whole thing then culminates at the end with a report. I'd like you to write well, not a report exactly, a plan. I'd like you to write a business plan for a nonprofit. One of the things we will learn over the course of the semester with both books is that nonprofits can't just do good works. They have to be run like businesses in many ways. And that's another difference between contract with contracting with nonprofits versus having government agencies administer services directly. These nonprofits have to compete for business, for example, to compete for the contracts. They have to serve their clients like customers. They have a number of expectations that are not so different from the for-profit business sector. In fact, some people have even taken to calling them not-for-profits instead of nonprofits, because in some cases these groups do make some profit on the side from certain activities that goes back into their expenditures and keeps them running so they can pay everybody's salary and so forth. They're not run for a profit, but they may have certain side activities that bring in some profits. And of course they do fundraisers and things like that as well. So we're going to cover all that, and piece by piece through these homework assignments you'll build your business plan, so it's not going to be a sucker punch all at once on the last day of class in late July. Boom, you have to write a whole business plan starting from zero. Instead, little by little, each assignment you do will help add something new to that business plan. Now that's not to say your final project will be just a cut and paste job. You don't want to do that. But what you can do is you can take ideas from earlier homework assignments and edit and add and smooth and develop and build them into a business plan. And if you end up applying for a job managing a not-for-profit, I think this is going to look great with your job application. And it'll teach you a lot about the practical side of managing a not-for-profit. So I'm going to wrap up my first day of class video here. There is, however, a part 2 to this video. And for part 2, when that comes on, you won't see my face. You'll see my computer screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to Canvas. You know, Emporia State is not doing Blackboard anymore. We're winding that down by the end of this month. It's Canvas now, and this class is on Canvas. And so I'm going to show you some basics in Canvas. I'm going to show you how to take the quizzes. I'm going to show you how to upload assignments. And I'm going to even give you 2 different assignments for a quick, easy 5 points. One is a quiz just that shows that you know how to get in and take a quiz on Canvas, because I want you to have that skill down so that when the quizzes are for real, you'll know exactly what to do and you won't get gummed up learning the technology. And I'll give you 5 points just for that. And then the other one is I'd like you to make a video like this one, or an audio recording, or write a short essay introducing yourself. I'll give you 5 points for that one too. So don't forget to watch part 2, because part 2 is where I will explain all that. See you in a minute.